Um, Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, and I can see people with the movie T-shirt over there, um, and I can see the governor and the people of SouthSummit, and this is really exciting for me for a few reasons. The first one is actually Porto Alegre. So I made multiple journeys in my life, Waze and Move It and dozens of other startups. But one of the most significant journeys of me is writing the book, Fall in Love with the Problem, Not the Solution. That journey started here. In 2017, I was actually teaching here at Puki University, and the baseline of the book was actually the content of that the course that I did. And it ended up here because my publisher in Brazil, Citadel, is actually based in Porto Alegre. So to a certain extent, I would say, in what I would consider as one of my most important journeys, started here, the milestone of publishing the book is here, and I'm pretty sure that there will be way more milestones throughout this journey. Now, SouthSummit is amazing. Is absolutely amazing. You have no idea, but just look around you. There are 1,700 people in here, but there are 24,000 people in the entire event. And that event started about 12 years ago, right? So something that is relatively new and become pretty significant. But the impact of SouthSummit on the ecosystem of entrepreneurship is actually very, very dramatic. And I'm happy that we have it here in Brazil, and I'm more than happy that we have it actually here in Porto Alegre. So I will start my presentation. I know that I have a limitation of 30 minutes, but trust me, I'm going to exceed that big time. The only thing that separates between you and going home is actually me, and to a certain extent, I would say I hope that it will be worthwhile. This is my email, uri@urilevine.com. I do answer all of my emails. Not necessarily in real time, and not necessarily the answer that you would like, but I do answer all of them. In entrepreneurship journey, if you are an entrepreneur, raise your hand. This is absolutely amazing. So many people that have the dream of making an impact and change the world and make it a better place. And this is why the world needs more entrepreneurs. But I would like to share with you a little bit about the journey of entrepreneurship. And in general, I would say it's always start with a very strong emotional engagement. You run into something that you really like and you tell yourself, this is how things should be done. Or you run into something that you really hate and you tell yourself, no, I'm going to change that. And I hate traffic jams. And there is understanding that, you're going to go into this journey. You build the dream and the passion, and you are willing to sacrifice. This is one of the biggest leapfrogs that you need to make in order to go into this journey. And you also realize that this is going to be a roller coaster journey with ups and downs and ups and downs. And look, if you'll tell me that all the businesses in the world have ups and downs, I agree. But the frequency of those when you're building startup, way more. I think that I heard the base quote on that from Ben Horowitz. Ben Horowitz is one of the founders of a recent Horowitz venture capital firm. And before that, he used to be a CEO of a startup. And he was asked whether or not he was sleeping well at night as a CEO of a startup. And he said, oh yeah, I slept like a baby. I woke up every 2 hours and cried. And that's really the reality of the journey. So to a certain extent, I would say this is exactly like falling in love. So there are many ideas that you think of, and eventually there is one that you tell yourself, this is what I'm going to do. You go to many dates, and eventually there is one that you tell yourself, she is the one. Now at the beginning, you only want to spend time with your date. You don't care about the rest of the world. You're thinking of your new ventures from multiple perspectives. This is the problem I'm going to solve. This is how the solution is going to look like. This is what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. This is my 10 years vision until you feel confident enough. And then you go and tell your friends, this is what I'm going to do. Now, the first reaction is always the same. This will never work. And these are the nice guys. The lesser nicer guys, they will tell you, this is the stupidest idea that I ever heard. And trust me, I heard that multiple times. So the good news, by the way, the same with your date, right? For the first time, you take your date to meet your friends, and they're saying, she's not for you. This is where you disengage from your friends. So the good news is that you're in love and you don't listen to anyone else. The bad news is that you are in love and you don't listen to anyone else. But you actually have to be in love in order to go into this journey, because this journey is going to be very long and very challenging, harder than anything else that you have done in your life. And for me, the journey always starts with the same place. Think of a problem, a big problem, something that is worth solving, something that the world will become a better place if you solve that. And then ask yourself, so who has this problem? Now, if you happen to be the only person on the planet with this problem, go to a therapist. Way cheaper and faster than building a startup. But if a lot of people actually have this problem, what you really want to do next is go and speak with those people and understand their perception of the problem. And only then go and build a solution. Now, if you follow this path and your solution works, it's guaranteed that you are creating value. And at the end of the day, the entrepreneurship journey is about value creation. If you start with the solution, you might be building something that no one cares, and that's going to be really frustrating. Now, to a certain extent, I would say more than half of the startups fail because there is no value, there is no problem that needs to be solved. When you focus on the problem, two things happen. Number one, the problem serves as the North Star of your journey. And when you have a North Star, you are more likely to become successful. You are going to make less deviation from your course, and you increase the likelihood of being successful. But the other part is equally important. The story that you are about to tell is way more compelling. Just imagine that I will be here in 2007, and I will tell you I'm going to build an AI crowdsource-based navigation system, and everyone is going to say, oh yeah, very interesting. No one cares. If I will tell you I'm going to help you to avoid traffic jams, then you do care. So when you tell a story about the problem, you engage people, and the audience want you to be successful. And when they do, you are going to be successful. So we establish one dimension of the journey, a roller coaster journey. Another dimension is this is going to be a journey of failures. Look, we're trying to build something that no one did before. And even though that we think that we know exactly what we are doing, we don't. So we try. We try one thing and it doesn't work. We try another thing and it doesn't work. We keep on trying different things until we find one thing that does work. Now, if you realize that this is going to be a journey of failures, then there are two immediate conclusions. The first one, if you're afraid to fail, then in reality you already failed because you're not going to try. Albert Einstein used to say that if you haven't failed, that's because you haven't tried new things before. If you're going to try new things, you will fail. If there is one thing that I would like you to take from today's presentation, if you have children, teach them to fail, encourage them to fail. That will make their life happier. The other one is that, look, if this is going to be a journey of failures, then you want to fail fast. Because when you fail fast, you still have plenty of time to try another approach. If you're building a version and it doesn't work of the product, then you still have plenty of time to build the next version and the next version and the next version. If you're trying to acquire users, then you still have multiple strategies for your go-to-market. In general, I would say, you want to fail fast because it buys you time for the next attempt. Now, the last dimension of this journey is this is going to be a long journey, a very long journey. And the longest part is what I call the desert of no traction. Nothing happens. You try to build a product and it doesn't work. You build a product and it does work, but then people are not coming. You build a product and it does work and people are coming, but they're not using it. It takes a long while until you get out of this desert, and getting out of the desert is figuring out product market fit. Now, product market fit is going to be the most important part of your journey. Product market fit means that you create value. That's it. If you do not figure out product market fit, you will die, as simple as that. You never heard of a company that did not figure out product market fit. They simply died. That's it. But for a second, I want you to think of all the companies that did figure out product market fit, and think for a second on, all the applications that you are using every day, from using Waze to searching Google, Netflix, Facebook, Uber, Instagram, whatever it is, and ask yourself, what is the difference between any of those today and the first time that you have used that? And the answer is that there is no difference. We are searching Google today the same way that we search Google for the first time in our life. We are using Waze the same way, or WhatsApp, or whatever it is. So once a company figures out product market fit, they don't change that anymore. That's the value that they bring to their customers. They don't change that anymore. What we don't know is how long did it take them to figure that out. Because before, we never heard of them. And then they don't change it anymore, right? So there is a point of time that they figure out product market fit, and this is where we started to use that. And since then, it's not being changed. For Microsoft, it was 5 years. For Netflix, it was 10 years. For Waze, it was 4 years. Now, if you'll tell me, no, today everything is different. Think of ChatGPT, they just started. No. They're a 7-year-old company. It takes time to create value. Now, for product market fit, there is only one metric: retention. If you create value, they will come back. If they are not coming back, that means that you are not creating value, as simple as that. So when you are in the phase of trying to figure out product market fit, one metric that you care about: retention. So a little bit about the Waze journey. And look, if I would have a time machine and we will go back into 2007 and I will tell you this is what I'm going to build, all of you are going to tell me, oh, this will never work. Because Waze has a magic of it. And the magic is that we, the drivers, create all the content that is being used by the application. Not just traffic information and speed drive. This is obvious. The map itself. So when we started, that was the map of Tel Aviv. Blank page. There was absolutely nothing on the map. And when the first driver drove, we collected the GPS data from the device, and if we drove this GPS data on the blank page, this is what we're going to get. Now, if we actually have that from a lot of drivers, we are starting to get something that looks like a map. If I will tell you that this is a traffic circle in the middle, it looks like a traffic circle, and it is a traffic circle. If there is, you can easily tell the difference between a main road and a street. If I would ask you which one is main road and which one is the ordinary street, you can see the density of those GPS traces and tell me, okay, this is main road. If there is an intersection that no one is making left turn, then no left turn is allowed. If there is a road that there are 100 people going into one direction and no one else driving the other direction, that will be one-way street. If there is a road that there are 100 people going into one direction and there are only 2 driving the other direction, this is a one-way street in Tel Aviv. Now, if you have computer science background, raise your hand for a second. So we know that if I can describe something, we can build it. And this is exactly what we did. We wrote the code that takes all of this data and convert that into a map. Now, initially, the map is incomplete, but then we enabled map editing tools that people can provide us with street names and house numbers and points of interest to make the map fairly complete. At this phase, if we will have someone that is driving slow, we can actually figure out that there is a traffic jam here. And if we have a lot of drivers all over, then we can figure out where all traffic jams are and actually route people to avoid traffic jams. So the magic of Waze is the crowdsource of everything. Now, if on top of that we add information like speed cams and so forth, then we end up with a driving tool that everyone is using every day. People in Brazil often tell me that this is the most important application on their phone and they don't know how they will survive if Waze is not there. They will. Now, is that really working? What we are seeing in this video is how the map was created in a few places in Central Europe. And it was about 6 months for the map to become good enough. Now Waze is free. Good enough and free is going to win the market. No one have an incentive to switch away from something that is good enough. Getting to the level of good enough was not that easy. So when we started in 2007. The first version was running on a PDA. So some of the younger audience have no clue what a PDA is. Some of the older audience probably would know. But let me tell you the following. Long time ago, there were dinosaurs, and then PDA, and then Nokia phones, and today we all have iPhones and Android. This long time ago is 15 years. This is how fast the world is changing. In fact, if I will send you back 15 years ago, into 2007, that's actually 17 years ago already, that means that I'm going to take away your iPhone, and Waze, and WhatsApp, and Netflix, and Instagram, and Uber, everything that you're using every day. I'm not sure that you will survive. This is how fast the world is changing. Now, if you're asking what does it mean about the future, the pace of innovation is increasing. So if we want to think about what does it mean for the next 10 years, just think for a second on the top 10 companies of the world today, right? So Apple and Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Nvidia and Facebook and Tesla and so forth, and ask yourself which one of them is going to remain in the top 10 companies of the world a decade from now, in 2034. Now, obviously, we don't know, but only half. Which one, we don't know. If we would know, then I will tell you, sell short on the other, and you are done. You don't need to work anymore. But we don't know. The more interesting question is which companies are going to take their place in the top 10 companies. And some of those names we haven't heard yet. This is how fast the world is changing. Going back into 2007, we started our journey. We raised capital in 2008, and we built the first version that was running on a Nokia phone that providing real-time traffic at the beginning of 2009. And we launched the product in Israel, and that was actually pretty good. So we told ourselves, wait a minute, if this is working in Israel, it should be able to work everywhere, and this is exactly what we did. 2010, we made the product available globally. Remember this slide? It was not good enough. It was not good enough in Latin America. It was not good enough in Brazil. It was not good enough in the US. It was not good enough in Western Europe. It was not good enough in Asia. It was good enough in 4 places. In Czech Republic, in Latvia, in Slovakia, and in Ecuador. That's it. The rest of the world, not good enough. Now what happened is that people really like the story. We, the drivers, are going to fight traffic jams together, and everyone downloaded the app, and it was not good enough. So what they did is that they tried once, and that's it. And we did exactly what we should have done. We asked them what didn't work for you, and they told us. And we built the next version, fixing everything that they've told us. And we know that this is it, and it's not. So we're doing it all over again. We speak with the drivers that tell us what doesn't work. We build the next version. Now we have the conviction that it's going to work, and it's not. Iteration after iteration after iteration, journey of failures. In some of those iterations, you're making a baby step forward. In some of them, it's even worse than before, so you roll back into the previous version. Some of them were leapfrogs. Now, you don't know which one is which. If you know, then I will tell you, do the leapfrogs first and the rest will follow. But we don't know that. It was more than a year of iterations until it's starting to become good enough. And then, it was like a wildfire, right? In the US, one metropolitan after the other, Los Angeles first, and then San Francisco, and Atlanta, and Washington, D.C., and New York, and Chicago, and so forth. In Brazil, São Paulo first, and then Porto Alegre, and Belo Horizonte, and Rio de Janeiro, one metropolitan after the other. In Europe, one country after the other. Italy first, and then Netherlands, and France, and Spain, and Sweden. In 2012, Waze was actually growing faster than the entire industry combined. So you take all navigation devices and all navigation apps and all in-car navigation system, Waze outgrew all of them combined. And then in 2013, Google came with a proposal to acquire us, and we said yes. Now people often, by the way, I left the day after so I can build more startups. And people often ask me whether or not it was the right decision to sell at the time. And I will tell you, look, in your life, there are right decisions or no decisions. Because when you make a decision, you don't know what it would be like if you will choose a different path. Now, if you would ask me whether or not Waze today worth more than $1.1 billion, oh, absolutely yes. What we don't know is whether or not Waze would become what it is today without the decision back then. So when you make a decision, by definition, it is the right decision. In many cases, decision-making is one of the most significant behavior of successful CEOs. And it's hard. It's hard to make hard decisions. Occasionally, we are looking for confirmation. When I was young, one day I came to my dad and I said, look, I don't know which path to choose. I can go this path or I can go this path, and I don't know which one to choose. So he reached out to his pocket and got a coin out and said, I'm going to flip the coin. And before the coin drops, you're going to make the decision. Guess what? The coin will drop. In most cases, we know what is the right decision, but we are looking for confirmation. So building unicorns, and so far I have 2, I'm working on my 3rd one and my 4th one and so forth. I think that I heard that there are only 62 people on the planet with 2 unicorns, so I'm one of 62, but I'm working to become even more unique. And I think that I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the first unicorn in Brazil was actually started here in Porto Alegre. So if this is the case, then again, absolutely amazing. Building unicorn is easy. All you have to do is line up all those stars. So you need to figure out product market fit. The market needs to be significant enough. You need to figure out the business model, so the lifetime value of the customer. You need to figure out growth, and in many cases going global as well. And then in many cases there is an X factor to it. Your challenge is that when you start your journey, all those stars are spread all over. And you actually have to nail them one by one, starting with product market fit. So for entrepreneurs, I will tell you, this is the beginning of your journey. This is the first 7 years of your journey. You're going to figure out product market fit, and then you can allow yourself to figure out monetizations or scaling up or going global. The first one needs to be product market fit. Now, most of the entrepreneurs that I meet, they tell me, oh, no. In our case, we're going to figure it out way faster. This is not going to be 7 years. And they're right. It's not 7 years. It's more. Just think of some of the tech giants. Think of Facebook and Tesla. They are about 17 years old. And Google and Amazon and Netflix, they're about 25, 27 years old. And Airbnb is even younger than that, right? And ask yourself how much of their value was created in the first decade of their journey versus rest of the time. Now, in the case of Facebook, rest of the time is about 7 or 8 more years. In the case of Netflix, it's 16 more years. Less than 5% was created in the first decade. Less than 5%. Because what happened on the first decade is that you need to figure out product market fit, and then you need to figure out business model, and then you need to figure out growth, and then you're 10 years old. And then you're ready to take off. Now, fundraising, one of the biggest challenges for many of the startups, and what I would like to tell you is that, look, if we think of a startup as a roller coaster journey, then I want you to think of fundraising as roller coaster journey in the dark. You don't even know what's coming. And in particular, if this is your first time, then it's a different ballgame. One of the key questions that you ask yourself, so how long does it take them to decide? And I spoke with many venture capital firms and asked them that question. And this is after I sold Waze and occasionally after the Movit acquisition and so forth. And so they felt okay to tell me the truth. And they asked me, do you want the real answer or do you want the right answer? And I told them, give me the real answer. The right answer I heard a lot of times. One of those, I really remember it like it happened yesterday. We were sitting in a small meeting room, and me and the managing partner of a venture capital firm, and I'm asking him that question. And the guy is looking at me, and looking at the door, and looking at me again, and says, before they sit down. Now you'll tell yourself, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. This is how fast first impression is being made. Seconds, that's it. And maybe you have few more minutes to let that first impression solidifies or change that. Now, if you don't believe that, then ask yourself, okay, so I'm going to recruit a new employee, right? How long does it take me to decide if I like the new candidate or not? You go on a date. How long does it take you to decide if you like the date? Seconds. And then maybe you allow that first impression to solidify or change that. Now, if this is the case and you are going to pitch to investors, what you want to start with is the strongest point of your story at the beginning. Because by the time you'll get there, it might be irrelevant anymore. Now, I spoke with many and I asked them, why did you decide to invest in this startup and this startup? And this is always about the first investment into the startup, right? So seed or pre-seed round into the startup. And what I heard is always the same. We like the CEO, we like the story. That's it. We like the CEO, we like the story. Now, if this is the case, then CEO goes alone to the first meeting. They need the stage to shine. If you bring more people with you, they take some of the attention. Go by yourself. That's it. And learn how to tell a good story. And good story is not about facts. It's about creating the emotional engagement. What you really want is you want the listener, the audience, regardless who the audience is. If this is an investor, if this is a new candidate for employment, if this is your customers, if this is a partner, you want them to want to be part of that story. And for that, you need to create the emotional engagement with them. So this is maybe the most important slide of my presentation. If you would be able to see my presentation from Puki University back in 2017, the same slide. If you will go back into the history and see that slide from the first time that I've created this presentation for entrepreneurs, and this is somewhere in 2012, the same slide. Technology may change, but the essence does not change. Who are your users and what is their perception of the problem? The second that you stop thinking about your users, you are starting to build stuff that they don't care. And guess what? If you build stuff that they don't care, there is someone else that is building the stuff that they do care. And that someone else is going to win the market. Make your mistakes fast. We already established that. The biggest enemy of good enough is perfect. You don't need to be perfect in order to win the market. And by the way that you will become good enough is that you start not good enough and you listen to your users. And you take their feedback and fix that and fix that and fix that through multiple iterations. Just for a second, I want you to think of two twin sister companies. They start at the same day, they're building the same thing, they have twin brother and sisters teams, they're making exactly the same progress until one day, company A says, our product is really suck, it's really bad, it's embarrassing level, we need to keep on building that. And company B is saying, our product is really suck, is embarrassing level. We are going to go to the market with it. From this point on, company B is making way faster progress than company A because they have the feedback of the real users. The last one turns out to be one of the most critical part, and I learned that when I spoke with many entrepreneurs that their startup failed, and I asked them why, what happened. And about half told me the team was not right. And I kept on asking, okay, what do you mean the team was not right? And what I heard the most is, we had this guy not good enough. So not good enough was the main reason. Another reason that I heard quite often is that we had communication issues, right? Something that I actually called ego management issues. And then I asked them the most interesting question. When did you know that the team is not right? Now the answer was actually rather scary. All of them told me within the first month. And you say, wait a minute. If you knew within the first month that the team is not right and you didn't do anything, the problem was not that the team was not right. The problem was that the CEO did not make hard decisions. Making hard decisions is hard. Making easy decisions is easy. This is why most people don't like to make the hard decisions. And by the way, you can ask the governor, he's right here. He still needs to make hard decisions. No one else is willing to make those decisions for you. The challenge is that in a small organization, the hard decisions will always go to the top. Now, if the CEO is not going to make the hard decision, the result is always the same. The top performing people, they would leave. They would leave because they don't want to be in a place that lacks the leadership of making hard decisions. So this is me, or at least it looks like a thinner version of me. And I'm building startups. This is what I do by and large. I do other things. I teach. We have here someone from IE University, so last semester I was actually teaching there. And I share my know-how in order to make a bigger impact. This is some of my startups. Actually, this is all of my startups, but I'm not going to go into them because we are kind of running out of time. What I would like to do is speak a little bit about my book. And look, Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, called that book the Bible for entrepreneurs. And you have to realize that Steve Wozniak, for me, was the technological guru when I grew up, right? And so when he called that this way, I knew that I figured out something right. But I met Steve Wozniak for the first time about maybe 8 or 9 years ago. We were both speaking at a conference in Guatemala. And the organizer told me that, I can have a dinner with him the night before. And I said, this is absolutely amazing. Now just think about it, right? Steve Wozniak, my guru, I have an opportunity to have a dinner with him, and the only things that I think of is to have a selfie with him. So this is exactly what I did. I took out my iPhone, and I was lucky to have an iPhone. And when you use the iPhone, and by the way, I'm going to take a selfie with the audience here. You can click here, right? This is everyone knows. But you can also use the volume button on the side of the phone in order to take a selfie. So this is exactly what I'm going to do right now. And this is what I did with Steve Wozniak. And he said, finally. And I said, finally what? He said, finally someone using it the way that I meant it to be. Now, when you think about it, of the history, then you realize that the first iPhone was actually an evolution of smartphones and touchscreen and digital cameras. And this is how we used to take pictures with digital cameras, right? So we were holding it like that, and we were clicking right here, where the volume button is. So it makes perfect sense, except the fact that most people are not using it this way. Now, if you are using iPhone and you're taking picture one way or another, it doesn't make any difference. This is the way that you are using it, and it's not a big deal. But if you're building product and you don't know that other people might be using it differently, then you are building the wrong product. And no, not yet. Give me a few more minutes.
We have to wrap up.
So this is the signal that I still have a few more minutes, and let me show you how you do that, right? The way to do that is to have this slide. Just one more story.
We have a weather issue Yeah, we have a weather issue, Uri. We do have to wrap it up, but
So,
thank you so much.
tomorrow morning, Juan and I are going to be on the stage, and I would ask Juan to ask me, what's the last story that I was about to tell?
Exactly. Tomorrow. Uri will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Uri.